Good morning, Barrett office staff. So this week we're going to be covering ants. This is the time of year that we're going to start seeing a lot of calls for ants come in. Ants are going to be coming from underneath the ground. They're going to be coming inside out of their overwintering areas. So it's good to know a little bit about ants, kind of what they look like, where they nest at, just some general information and things that we can do to help our customers. Let's go ahead and get into it. So starting off with the crazy ant, Paratrechina longicornis. Okay, Paratrechina longicornis is it gets its name from the fast jerking and erratic running behavior that they do when they're disturbed. They are monomorphic ants, which means they are all one size. Now they're part of a subfamily called Formicinae. And what that means is that they have a ring of fringed hairs around the anus that emits formic acid in defense. Okay, so whenever a predator comes and tries to eat them or attack them, they emit this formic acid to try to drive them away. Now, these ants have what's called a node that connects the thorax here and the abdomen, and this right here is that one node. Okay, and that's going to be important here in a little bit. So this particular ant species has multiple colonies. Most new colon or multiple queens. I'm sorry, they have multiple queens, and most are new colonies are created by what's called budding. So essentially, what they'll do is they'll have a colony, and they'll cut that colony off and split it, and then the new colony will go off and make their own colony. And that's usually how it happens and how they can spread so quickly. These ants are mostly found outside but will move indoors during the fall or after rain because both conditions reduce the supply of honeydew. Now, you might be thinking honeydew melon because that's what a lot of us are familiar with, but it's actually a secretion or the feces of aphids, which is a lawn and ornamental pest. And it's actually really neat because these ants will actually go and protect the aphids from other enemies like ladybugs. They'll protect them because they're going to protect their food supply. So they kind of form a symbiotic relationship. Moving on to the odorous house ant. The odorous house ant, Tapenoma cecily. Odorous house ants are medium-sized ants that commonly infest houses throughout the U.S. and give off a musty smell when crushed, similar to that of like rotting coconuts. They do readily accept sweets for their food. So we have specific ant baits that we use that are more sugar based rather than protein based. They are part of a family, the subfamily Dolichoderinae, and what that means is that instead of having the ring of fringed hairs around the anus, they have no hairs around the anus, and it's just a slit. So, but they still emit the formic acid in the form as the form of defense. Now, they do also have a single node connecting the thorax and the abdomen, but the difference is it's kind of hidden. You can see it right under here. That abdomen kind of covers up that node, so it's very difficult to see from above. And this is actually really important because we have the Argentine ant. Okay, the Argentine ant looks extremely similar to the odorous house ant in size and shape, except the difference is you can see that node here um, in between the thorax and the abdomen. Okay, this ant is also part of the subfamily Dolichoderinae, and they still only have one node. They tend to have large colonies, which makes them difficult to control, and they're commonly found in California, southern states, and isolated sightings in other states. But between these two ants, they are primarily going to be nesting indoors. Okay, they're wall void nesters. So whenever we have ants that are coming out into the kitchen, they're harboring inside walls. I'm sorry. Whenever they come out, they're usually somewhere close by within the wall void, right? They want to come into the kitchen, they want to look for food, they want to kind of look for water in the drains. A lot of times, customers will think that ants are coming up out of their drains or coming up out of their faucets, but it's really not the case. They're just going out and they're foraging, and then they're eventually going to go back into their hiding spot. Pharaoh ants, Monomorium pharaonis. So pharaoh ants, we see these from time to time. They are very small and monomorphic ants. Remember, monomorphic means that they are all one size. They are common indoor nesters and will also forage outdoors in warmer weather. These ants also form new nests by budding and can have many reproductives, right? They're going to need multiple queens to be able to bud. They are part of the family Myrmecinae, okay? So they're going to have two nodes instead of just one. And you can see that here. We have one and two. They do have a stinger, but they don't sting, okay? And these ants are found throughout the entire United States. Little black ants. Little black ants, Monomoria minimum. They are very small, shiny, black ants that primarily nest outdoors. These ants are, again, monomorphic. They are part of the family Myrmecinae, and they also have two nodes that connect the thorax and the abdomen. You can see them here. But these ants are different than the pharaoh ants because they do actually sting. They cause a painful sting. So we need to make sure that we take care of these as quickly as we can so that way customers don't get hurt. They make small mounds in the soil, but they're also going to nest within dead wood. So if you have a customer with uh, logs stacked up next to the house for a fireplace or firewood, down trees, things like that, that's where we're going to find them. They are found throughout the United States, but especially in south central states. So pretty much where we are is where they're going to be. Acrobat ants, Chromatogaster spp. Acrobat ants are medium-sized outdoor ants that nest in dead, moist wood, but will also nest in structural wall voids. They are light reddish black, often bicolored, meaning red and black. These ants are monomorphic, but they are part of the family Myrmecinae. Okay, so they have two nodes, right? We can see them here, one and two, and they have a painful sting, right? They will sting us. These ants will also nest within vacant carpenter ant galleries. So if we have a customer that calls in for carpenter ants, we need to make sure, and I'm teaching this to the technicians actually this month, that they need to pay attention after they've gotten rid of carpenter ants, that they need to pay attention for a secondary infestation of acrobat ants. You know, it is common for them to move in as soon as the primary big bad boogeyman of the carpenter ant is gone. So that's something that we have to pay attention to and make sure we check on our follow-ups. Now, this ant's most distinguishing feature is their heart-shaped abdomen here. This is a feature that is uh, pretty much only on the acrobat ants. I have not seen it on any other kinds of ants at this point. Doesn't mean they're not out there, but as far as what we deal with in structural pest control, this is the dead giveaway that we are dealing with acrobat ants. And the other cool thing about them is when they're disturbed, they'll actually take that abdomen and they'll raise it up, kind of like a scorpion will whenever it's disturbed, to try to make themselves look bigger and more threatening to predators. Really neat to see, actually. Now, red imported fire ants, Solenopsis invicta. Red imported fire ants are small to medium in size, right? So that means they're going to be polymorphic. That means they're going to have different size ants throughout the colony. These ants are considered a public health pest due to their ability to cause allergic reactions and anaphylactic shock thanks to their stings. They make small to large size mounds depending on the age of the colony, and they respond very aggressively when their nest is disturbed. So again, these are part of the family Myrmecinae. They have two nodes. You can see it clearly here, one, two, and these guys are going to cause a painful sting. Okay, um, we want to really try and push top choice treatments or annual services to try and take care of these early in the season. We can take care of them all season long, but do we want to get to them early before they erupt out of the ground from overwintering? Now, the thing about that is by the time that we actually see fire ant mounds starting to mound up, think of it like the iceberg that the Titanic hit. What they saw on the above the water is just literally the tip of the iceberg. Fire ants can actually nest 6 feet under the up to 6 feet under the ground um, in a mature colony. So whenever our technicians find these, the appropriate type of treatment to do on a fire ant mound, if we don't have an ant annual service already, is a mound drench, right? Which means we spray that mound. We get that product to soak down into the colony That way it starts affecting all members of the colony and eventually makes it back to the queen. So that way we can kill her off that way. Because if we take away the reproductive capabilities, then we take away the colony's ability to grow. Now, the normal treatments that we're going to do for ants outside of the red imported fire ant, it really depends on the ant itself, right? We have wall void nesters, we have small mound makers, we have secondary infestation ants, like the acrobat ant. So just your regular wall void nester, okay? Um, we are going to do a wall void treatment. We're going to try and get dust back inside that wall void, usually from plumbing penetrations or weep holes, to try and get that dust into the colony. And we're going to use baits. Depending on the time of year, depends on what kind of bait we use and what species as well. There's a lot of factors that go into baiting. Are we going to have a colony that is getting ready to overwinter? They want to stock up their food. So, okay, we need to use a protein-based bait. That way the bait lasts longer or the food lasts longer. Is it summer? Are they trying to grow really quickly and fatten up the nest? Okay, now it's time to use a sugar-based bait. So the technician makes the decision always of what bait to use because they know what time of year it is, what kind of ants we're dealing with. So they will make the decision as far as what type of bait to use. We'll also do an interior spray and exterior spray with non-repellent residual insecticides. Okay. We don't want to use a repellent for ants at all because it will move them around the house. It will bring them out of their hiding hole and cause a bigger issue. We want to use a product that is similar to COVID. So, like Taurus SC, Terminor SC are some major players for us because it's literally like COVID. By the time that the ants realize that something is wrong, it is too late. It's already spread throughout the colony and it's going to keep spreading thanks to something called trophallaxis. Trophallaxis is the act of ants feeding each other and communicating with each other by touching. Okay, and they also groom each other. So that product is going to spread extremely quickly. And we want it to get back to the queen. We always want to make it back to the reproductives. So baits, dust, and non-repellent insecticides are the primary products that we are going to be using every single time we've got some ants. And that can be things from Demand, Taurus, Towstar, Max Force Quantum, um, Max Force Fleet, Advion. I mean, there's a plethora of products that we have at our disposal to get rid of these ants. And there's never an ant job that is too big or too small. Now, if a customer calls in and they have fire ants, we definitely want to try and push the ant annual service because whenever we do that service and we apply the product correctly, that service is good for at least a year. It will continue killing those ants because um, it is a high residual product. It is a granule, so the customers do have to water it in. That is something that is important. If they don't water in the product and the product gets exposed to too much sunlight and too much heat for too long, it's not going to work. They have to water within 24 hours to be able to uh, get that product down, soaked into the soil, and basically create a barrier on the top layer of soil to kill off these fire ants. Now, you're going to have a code word that you're going to need to send over to your management team to let them know that you saw this video. Okay. And the code word is red imported fire ants. Okay. Red imported fire ants is your code word for today's video. If y'all have any questions, if y'all have any concerns, if y'all have anything that you want to ask, please feel free to email me. You can text me. You can call me. I am available. So if y'all need anything, feel free to let me know. Y'all have a wonderful day.